Hey everybody, this is Mike Tatarski in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, with another update on the latest coronavirus situation here. I'm once again doing this from a desk because it's ugly outside. Hey Mark, thanks for watching. So it's about a little after 9:30 p.m. on Wednesday evening here in Vietnam. Just wanted to give an update on how things are going here. Uh, so earlier this evening, the Ministry of Health announced four more cases, all up north or in central Vietnam. So nationally, we're now at 993 cases since the pandemic started. 434 are active. Sorry, that's my cat's tail. um, and also the death toll has risen to 25. And that most of this is from, or a lot of this is from the outbreak that started a couple weeks ago in Da Nang. Most of the new cases are still centered in Da Nang or a couple of neighboring provinces. But a new outbreak cluster has started in Hai Giang, a city a couple hours east of Hanoi of about 500,000 people. Um, sorry about that. That has actually been placed under pretty strict lockdown for a few days now. So residents aren't allowed to leave except for special circumstances. People can't enter unless they're delivering vital supplies. Um, hey, Alicia, thanks for watching. Um, yeah, so Haiziong has joined Da Nang in a pretty strict lockdown. And also in Hanoi, the capital, starting today, they started implementing stricter social distancing regulations. So cafes and restaurants can stay open, but all seating has to be at least a meter apart. Um, Temperature checks everywhere are mandatory. Oh, my cat is really wanting attention right now. Um, So that's in Hanoi, the capital, where they've had a couple of new cases. But here in Ho Chi Minh City or Saigon, whatever you want to call it, um, things are still pretty normal. Um, Masks are mandatory, but restaurants are busy. Daily life. Oh, says I have a poor connection. Okay, back. Like I was saying, here in Ho Chi Minh City, so Vietnam's biggest city, life is pretty normal. There hasn't been a new case here in a few days, or at least a week, I think. So restaurants are open, cafes are open. They can be, I think they're supposed to have fewer than 30 people if possible, but places have been very busy, and even some places that look like bars have also been open. So I'm not actually quite sure what exactly the rules are here, but Ho Chi Minh City seems to be doing pretty well. Hopefully that continues because things are worse in central and northern Vietnam. Uh, but yeah, I just wanted to check in with everybody. And if you have any questions about how things are going here, let me know. I'll do my best to answer. Again, I had hoped to be outside, but it was a rainy, kind of cold evening, actually, or cold for us. Took her out. I live here. Yeah, he asked if I live here or if I'm stuck here. I live here. Thankfully, it was not abroad when this started happening, or that would have been tough. So yeah, if anyone's curious, international borders remain closed. They've been closed since late March. The only people who can get in are Vietnamese citizens coming back on special repatriation flights or select foreign experts that have to go through a pretty rigorous um, application process. And so Mark asks, yeah, the growing problem in the U.S. with schools reopening. How's Vietnam handling in-person schooling? Right now, schools are open. I believe public schools are actually off for a couple more weeks because the school year here has been very strange because they closed for Lunar New Year in February and just never reopened because of the virus until I think they went back in May or early June. So kids had a 3 week or sorry, 3 month break. So they had to make that up a bit. And most schools are out right now. Others are, I think international schools are open. And as far as I know, it wasn't, anyway, so schools that are back in session are, I believe, in session normally. I think, sorry, masks need to be worn on campuses, but they're back in normal session at the moment. Sorry, I'm not sure how good my connection is for some reason. And just, yeah, resetting for any new viewers, I'm in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, the country's largest city, about 9:40 p.m. on Wednesday. Just giving a coronavirus update. So we're up to 993 cases total with 25 deaths. 434 of those cases are active. Many of these are from a new wave of the infection that started in Da Nang on July 25th. That's when the first case there was detected. Things here in Ho Chi Minh City are largely fine, but Da Nang is still locked down. Hoi An, the popular tourist town nearby, is still closed. And the city of Haidiong, of about 500,000 people, a couple hours away from Hanoi, is also locked down as of a few days ago. So nobody's allowed in or out of that city unless they're delivering essential supplies. That's a city that's obviously it's important people live there, but not a major economic center or anything like that. So it hasn't been that surprising to see them lock it down after a cluster broke out there. Hanoi also implemented stricter guidelines today, so cafes and restaurants are still open, but they have to have all seating with at least a meter between them. Temperature checks required. At Iraq, how is testing currently? That's a good question, actually. That's one thing that's been a little confusing recently is, hey, Pablo, thanks for joining. So a few months ago in March and April, when the initial outbreak was at its peak here, the government provided pretty up-to-date overall testing numbers, whereas now we're not really sure what the numbers are. So it's unclear how many people have been tested recently. And there have been articles saying that Hanoi, for example, was running out of quick tests on people, which was concerning, but I haven't seen more about that. Hey, Drew. And yeah, somebody else commented a lot has changed. Remote 44 asks, there's a lot of talk in Toronto about people being evicted for not paying rent. Is this a concern in Vietnam or Ho Chi Minh City specifically? Excuse me. Sorry. I haven't heard much high level talk about that. I mean, the economy here has stayed in decent shape, so I don't think that's a huge concern so far. And also cost of living is much lower. I will say that. I've had a few friends personally, Americans, who lost their jobs here and had to go back to the US just because they couldn't afford to stay here. So certainly that's a concern for people because there are still flights out, so you can leave if you want to. In terms of regulations on not evicting people, I haven't heard anything about that. So yeah, that's that's what I know about that. And yeah, another comment about a lot of people unable to work because of lockdowns. So that's one thing that's also different here is we had a 3-week national social distancing period, which I guess is similar to a lockdown where non-essential businesses nationwide were closed. But other than that, business has largely been able to stay open. Of course, the economy is hurting. There's no tourism and the economy does a lot of exporting, so it's been hurt by economic downturns in the US and other countries. But the economy here hasn't been hit as hard, and lockdowns haven't been as hard either. So a lot of places have been able to stay open. Of course, a lot of places have gone out of business, but we haven't seen the sort of long-scale lockdowns like the US or Europe or Canada, for example, have had. Hey, Alex, thanks for joining. So just catching any new viewers up, I'm in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, 9:45 on a Wednesday night. Just giving a coronavirus update from inside because it's another ugly evening out. So a few more cases were announced earlier, up to 993 total throughout the entire pandemic with 25 deaths. 434 of those cases are currently active. Quite a few, from what I read earlier, are in critical condition, so there's expected to be more deaths. But of course, these numbers are obviously vastly lower than a lot of other countries. Mark Lowerson from Twitter says the atmosphere in Hanoi has not changed that much with stricter social distancing. That's interesting. I kind of was wondering if things were different in Hanoi. I have a few friends up there who said it's still been fairly normal. So it seems life was largely carrying on outside of Da Nang, Hoi An, and I suppose Haiziong, this city that has also been locked down. Here in Ho Chi Minh City, life is very much normal. People are going to work, people are going to school, restaurants and cafes are busy. Not everyone is wearing a mask, but a lot of people are. Um, Oscar Kilo, no, yeah, 903 to date, 993 cases to date, which is impressively low, as you said. And I apologize if the serious cases spread among at-risk individuals. Yeah, by and large, all the people who have passed away so far due to COVID-19 have had serious other underlying conditions like kidney failure. I think some had some form of cancer. Most of them have been in their 50s or 60s or 70s. A few have been younger, but they all had pretty serious comorbidities. Um, they were already in hospital sick when they caught this current outbreak, and Da Nang started in a hospital. Fuse Blower keeps asking about the Ho Chi Minh Trail. I'm not sure what. I mean, that's a historical thing, but it doesn't really exist anymore. Um, but yes, the serious cases have been largely among at-risk individuals since the Da Nang outbreak started in a series of hospitals there, which is obviously um, less than ideal. And then Mark also said mask wearing almost 100% in Hanoi. That's good. It's mask usage is definitely high here in Ho Chi Minh City, but not 100%. I think people are fairly relaxed. Somebody else asked, has the health system been overloaded? No, thankfully. Um, I think, sorry, my cat keeps jumping up on the desk. Um, so the health system here, the public hospitals are doctors and nurses are very well trained, but the facilities themselves are not the best. I mean, this is still a developing country. Um, so the government has taken a very aggressive stance on COVID from the break or from the initial outbreak because they wouldn't be able to handle a large outbreak here. Also asked, are masks mandated? Yes, they are. As of a week or two ago, they're now required and you can be fined for not wearing them up to about $15. I think here in Ho Chi Minh City, they fined maybe around 800 people over the last week or so for not wearing masks in public. Um, so yeah, that's a regulation. And with masks, we're definitely not seeing any of the debates about that you've seen or are still seeing in the US or some other countries. You guys can I still get banh mi? Yes, all food is can get all the usual Vietnamese food, thankfully. Also, somebody asked if I've been exposed or tested. No, I've not been tested. Testing here has been very targeted because they don't have the capacity to test everybody. So you only get tested if you arrive in the country or if you're exposed to a known cluster, which as far as I know, have not. Contact tracing is really rigorous here, so I would know if I had been within contact of a direct case, and that has not happened. So no, I have not been tested. Also, can foreigners enter? No. Well, some can, but it only like managers or experts that get government approval and come on special flights and have to do 14 days of quarantine upon arrival. Um, but no tourists are not allowed to enter. That's some good questions. What does rigorous contact tracing look like? So basically, it's a lot of manpower knocking on doors and getting phone numbers of people who people contacted or where they went at what time. So for some cases, they release info as detailed as if you've been to this cafe on this street from 10 a.m. to between the hours of 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. on August 15th, contact the local health department to get so that they know you were there. Um, I mean, I know in some cases CCTV is used, like at a mall or something like that. If a known case was at a big space like that, yeah, so a lot of manpower just tracking down where somebody went, who they contacted with, and all of that. There's also an app that the Ministry of Health developed that they're trying to get everybody to download that uses Bluetooth to, I guess, tell whether you've been near a known case or not. Not everybody has downloaded it yet, but they're trying to get everybody to use that. So that would aid with sort of digital contact tracing. So let's quickly reset for any new viewers. I'm in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. Wednesday night to giving a coronavirus update. If anyone has any questions about how things are going here. So we've hit 993 cases, 25 deaths. That's throughout the entire pandemic. So since January, when this all started breaking out of China. Um, Here in Ho Chi Minh City, life is pretty normal. Hanoi is a little more serious, but still going along pretty well. And then Da Nang and also a city called Haidiong are locked down due to pretty major clusters there. Um, and everywhere else in most other provinces, or most provinces, to be honest, are kind of in wait and see mode, to just get a sense of the next couple of weeks as more testing is done, where this outbreak will go. So Nugs and Bug asked, why am I in Vietnam? I moved here to work as an English teacher and then eventually got into reporting and journalism, and I just haven't had a reason to leave. So that's work is why I'm here. Oscar Kilo sounds like a 2.5% death rate is quite high. Yeah, I mean, I think that's again because of the source of this new outbreak was in within hospitals where there was a lot of people already quite sick that were there. So that was obviously very unfortunate that people that were older or already quite sick got it. And at that point, I don't think you really stand much of a chance when you get the coronavirus. Um, so I think that skews it a little bit because up until this current outbreak, there had been zero reported coronavirus deaths since January. Am I still teaching English? No, I haven't done that in years, but a lot of people, that is a popular profession here. One of these days, I'll be able to do another stream from outside. The weather, we're in the middle of the monsoon season, so a lot of afternoons and evenings, it's if not raining, then threatening to rain, which makes it a little tough to do this later in the day. Oscar kilos, with such a high death percentage, I'd be extremely worried about undetected community spread. That is possible. I mean, it's possible in any country, I suppose. That has been a bit of a concern here because of the how targeted the testing has done. They haven't done widespread community testing. But that being said, there's been not really any sign from talking to health experts. There's been no signs of major undetected outbreaks. Of course, it could be transmitting asymptomatically or at a low level, but we would have a pretty good idea if there was a major outbreak happening somewhere where people were really getting really sick or something like that. But that obviously is certainly a valid thing to wonder about. And again, those deaths have been almost exclusively concentrated at a few hospitals in Da Nang. They've all been in central Vietnam, mostly in Da Nang. So we haven't seen that outside of that one cluster. But even with this renewed outbreak, people are still pretty optimistic here. There's a lot of confidence that things are going well. Again, we kind of just have to wait and see. I mean, some government officials have said that the virus is kind of now here to stay, and we're going to have to learn to live with it, which, I mean, to be honest, is where pretty much the entire world is. That's not new. So we just continue to be safe. And one interesting development from late last week was the Ministry of Health here, I guess, registered to get 50 to 150 million doses of the Russian vaccine, but there haven't been details on what that would cost or what they plan to do with it because Vietnam is working on its own vaccine that they expect to have ready, I think, by the end of next year or late next year. So it's unclear what the plan would be if they were to start getting doses of the Russian vaccine here. Oscar Kilo, how's the tourism industry been doing? Is the government supporting it? So for international tourism, obviously it's non-existent, which is a big deal. Vietnam had been setting records every year for international tourists. Um, there's, big resorts all up and down the coast now. So that's been a huge hit for, tour guides, tour companies, hotels, restaurants that focus on kind of cater towards foreigners. I mean, if you walk around downtown Ho Chi Minh City, you can tell what places were catered at foreign tourists and which ones weren't. Domestic tourism had been doing really well up until this new outbreak because you can fly anywhere in the country. A lot of places were offering discounts, so there was a few weeks where domestic tourism destinations were completely packed. So that had been doing well, but now this new outbreak is kind of you know, hitting them again. So we shall see. Did I say the Russian vaccine might be headed there? Any concerns about that? It might be heading here. Like I said, the Ministry of Health has registered to buy doses of it. I will say I don't know anything about that process or how long it would take or any of that. I mean, I have personal concerns about it. I'm not sure about broader concerns in the broader population, but it's also unclear how it would be used, like if it would be made readily available or any of that. Catastrophe asks, what about the Australian vaccine? I don't know anything about that one. I must admit, I'll have to look that up. The only one I've heard about like potentially being used here so far is the Russian one. And then Vietnam is also working on their own that they expect to be ready in, I think, a year or so. That's what they've said at least. Thank you, S. It's just old folks that define their Vietnam worldview in Cold War terms. I assume you mean old folks in the West, because if so, I think so. I mean, I know people my parents' age in America still think of Vietnam as a war, or that I've had people ask me if think that it's still two countries and that sort of thing. So if that's what you mean, then yes. But people here in Vietnam definitely don't think of it still like that. Oscar Kilo mentioned the daily podcast episode about vaccine development. Yeah, I listened. I don't know if I finished that one. I did listen to it. That was very interesting. Um, and he also asked, "What is HAPS?" It's why I don't. Why my understanding is it's an online streaming platform for journalists, or not just journalists, but it's kind of meant to be a platform for live news where freelancers or independent reporters can stream news without having to go through a media outlet. So it's for any new people. I'm in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, giving an update on the coronavirus situation here. We're approaching 1,000 cases total nationwide since the outbreak began. 434 of those cases are currently active. Here in Ho Chi Minh City, life is pretty normal. Masks are mandatory. Restaurants aren't supposed to have more than 30 customers, but I've definitely seen some that aren't following that rule. Hanoi is similar, a little bit stricter, and then Da Nang is locked down. Hoi An is locked down, and a city called Hai Duong up north is locked down. A cluster has broken out there over the past few days. And some cities are starting to test. I know here in Ho Chi Minh City, they're starting to test people from other provinces where outbreaks are happening. I think they might start to test people who come here from Hanoi. Some more testing will be happening. But in much of the country, life is carrying on as normal. Daily life, of course, is impacted in some ways, especially depending on which industry you work in. But things are much more normal here than in many other places. So I'm lucky to be here. I'm going to sign off in a couple minutes. So if there's any other questions about what's going on here, or even just life in Vietnam or anything like that, do let me know. I swear one of these days I'll do another stream outside when the weather cooperates. I know there's been a couple questions about whether foreigners can enter. So, I mean, I said no earlier, except in certain cases, and there's really no sign of when that will change. So somebody messaged me on Twitter earlier asking if they would be able to travel here from the UK in November for a trip. And I mean, that's definitely not going to happen. I think the common consensus is normal, like regular visitors will not be able to come until sometime next year, at least. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if it was until there's a widespread vaccine available somewhere, or if it was some sort of travel bubble with Taiwan or South Korea or some country that has things under pretty good control. Because the Vietnamese government has taken this very seriously, and I don't want it to run the risk of it getting in any further than it already is. So, which means I'm kind of, well, stuck doesn't sound right, but I won't be able to travel outside of Vietnam for a while, I don't think. Hey, Ronald Fan from Hong Kong, thanks for watching. So yeah, it's been a shame in recent weeks watching places like Hong Kong or kind of South Korea now a little bit or Australia that, I guess New Zealand, New Zealand as well, that we're doing really well, and now we're dealing with new outbreaks, just like Vietnam. Um, Although thankfully they all seem to be doing a pretty decent job with it. Yeah, so I'll just do one more reset before I sign off. That's Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, largest city in the country, a little after 10 now, Wednesday evening. So just a coronavirus update, we're 993 cases, 434 are active with a death toll of 25. That will probably increase further. There's several critical patients in Da Nang. Life in much of the country is relatively normal. Masks are mandatory here in Ho Chi Minh City and up in Hanoi and some other cities. Da Nang remains under lockdown. Hoi An, the popular tourist town, is lockdown, and Haiziong, a city a couple hours away from Hanoi, is locked down. It's about 500,000 people. That's a pretty hard lockdown. People can't enter or exit unless they're bringing essential supplies or if they have an approved reason to leave. But outside of those areas, things are, as far as we know, in pretty good shape. Again, these next couple weeks, I've been saying that for several weeks now, but the coming weeks will be pretty crucial in letting us know how widespread or not this thing is, and then we can see where Vietnam goes from there. But unless there are any more questions, I'm gonna sign off. It's getting a little late here. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. I'm hoping the next one of these is outside, so you guys can actually see what life here looks like. And yeah. Oh, also, so I write a weekly newsletter about Vietnam. It's called Vietnam Weekly. It's on Substack. There's a free sign up, so please check that out. Again, I think it's substack.com/Vietnam Weekly. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.